adjust this a little. Welcome. Thank you, Catherine, for that kind introduction and for acknowledging all of our supporters and special guests. So we're happy that all of you have joined us today to experience Taiwanese tea culture with Gen Tea. Thanks to all of our sponsors and to the GIA's Friends of Asian Arts and Cultures, or FAAC, for supporting the program. And to learn more about FAAC or to join our group, you can pick up an information card just outside the lecture hall. So now it gives me great pleasure to introduce today's presenters, Hui Fang, Ai Fang, and Yu Xie. They come from a family that has been both innovating and preserving tea culture for generations. During the 19th century, the family cultivated tea in southern China, where some of their ancestors were recognized tea masters. In the early 20th century, the family migrated to Taiwan, establishing their tea practice there. I and Hui Fang's grandmother, Dong Lai Chen, became the region's first female tea master in the 1930s, and their family tea business has been led by women ever since. I and Hui's mother, Fu Chen, is a respected tea master who's been nicknamed National Treasure by the tea farmers that she works with. And Ai Fang, who is here with us today, is the first tea master of her generation, and she leads the family's tea production and practice together with Fu Chen. Hui Fang, Ai's sister, an artist and designer, led the rebranding of the family tea business as Gen Tea in 2010, bringing it to new parts of the world. So today, Hui will kick off the program, telling us more about Gen Tea and Taiwanese tea culture. Then, Ai Fang will lead a demonstration of a traditional Taiwanese tea ceremony. Then after that, we'll demonstrate a style of tea ceremony from Song Dynasty China, dating between 960 and 1279 CE. Then at the end of the program, as my colleague Catherine mentioned, we will be treated to a tasting in the student lunchroom. So now, please join me in welcoming all three of our presenters from Gen Tea.
Good afternoon.
Good
How's everybody?
Good.
Can you tell I'm extremely nervous? How are you? My name is Hui Fang, and this is my sister Ai Fang, and also her daughter Xiaoyu. We are from Taiwan. We're 5th-generation tea makers, all females. And today we wanted to really take this opportunity to thank you for coming here, because this is one of my dreams, to be in such a beautiful institute with all the art surrounded. It's like having heaven come true to us. So thank you so much. Thank you for sharing with this program together. And thank you for everybody giving your time. I know everybody's busy and it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I promise I will not make you feel sleepy. Okay, so today we're gonna quickly talk about tea, and especially Taiwan tea. But we cannot talk about tea without knowing a little bit about tea origins. So, as yesterday I was talking to Sharon, I realized how the tea spread around the world. So, tea comes from southern China. It's the birthplace of tea. And back in the day when we are drinking tea, in the beginning we just take the tea leaf and put it in the water. And you can imagine this is 2000 BC, so it's quite a long time. And back in the day, people don't know how to cure diseases, so we have the Chinese medicine, we call it garden medicine. He would go out every day and he would pick random plants, and sometimes he get poisoned. So he would take tea in the end of the day, and that would be his cure. So ever since then, we started to have tea as medicine use, and slowly become everyday drink. So it's all started from southern China, and then it spread out to Korea about 5th century, because Korea is very close to China. And if you think about Chinese history, every dynasty is very different. So on the 5th century, when we go to Korea, you're still drinking tea like you are cooking tea. So as I go along quickly, you'll understand why every country kind of drink tea differently, but still like now they developed their own style. So Koreans started their own style since then. And then 7th century, spread to Japan. And we all know Japanese people are very good of preserving their culture. But it started from 7th century, from the monk. They would go to temple to learn how to do tea and make tea ceremony, and they would bring the tea culture back. So by 14th century, Japanese tea ceremony has already been the peak. And that time when they learn, if you think about that's right around Song Dynasty, where all the tea in China is made of cake, and then they'll grind the cake down to the powder. So you use the whiskey to whisk tea. And that's what the tea ceremony started that time. But in China, things have changed. The emperor doesn't like that because it's only belong to royal family or very rich and famous. It's not for everybody to drink. So it abandoned that kind of tea drinking culture. So it become, they don't want you to drink powder tea anymore. We don't want you to do this fancy art form. We just want you to drink loose tea. So since then, after 12th century, like started from 13th century, it's already drinking loose tea. So everything after 13th century and go around the world is all loose tea, including in China. So but about 16th century, tea already in Taiwan. We figured out how to make tea with the oxidation process. Before 16th century, everybody drink tea like green tea. So right now you still drink green tea in Japan or in Korea. But China and Taiwan, we already transitioned to oxidation tea. So I don't know if everybody know about tea. If you have a one tea plant, you could make it into white tea, black tea, oolong tea. But it's the only difference is oxidation level. And that's the secret of how to make different types of tea. And we are focused on doing only oolong since 1850. And the reason we want to focus on this is because oolong tea is such a special tea. It has the best aroma, even though it's harder to take care of when you grow it. But when you make it into semi-acidic tea, it has a really beautiful aroma, but also very, very good feedback on your throat. So we focus on doing only oolong tea. So I'm not going to talk too much about my family history because, today we wanted to give you more time to talk about tea ceremony. So my sister now is doing traditional tea ceremony. So this is style of the tea ceremony after Song Dynasty started slowly become something like that. So we are very focused on good quality of tea. And this usually is done with 5 people, including the person not making tea is 6 people. And we were doing this tea ceremony without talking, so it's a form of tea meditation. Now, when you are doing tea ceremony, there's a lot of ins and outs, but basically you would have beautiful flower arrangement, and this flower arrangement is the one that you can depict your idea of what you want to present as your tea ceremony. And you will arrange your tea set in a way that is awful and beautiful. So the one that she's using right now is called fire ash clay. Each teacup and the teapot are all unique because when it's in the kiln, it's 3,000 Celsius. And the ash falls on the teacup differently and it creates shining part. So depending how you arrange your teacup location, you'll get different patterns. So it's kind of random that it's not under your control. But this kind of teacup, when you drink tea, it makes tea very, very sweet. So she's going to do that, and we're going to continue to talk about. This is my grandma, And back in the day, she's the first female tea master with all her brothers and sisters, and all the brothers now still have their offspring making tea. So if you come to Taiwan in our village, you'll see the whole street is all tea shops. And we have about 70 tea masters, and they all fight against each other. There's the best tea, basically. So this is my mom. She's 85, and she's still making tea. And this is the woman that we are now here, because she believed to make the best oolong tea, you really need to have the best soil. So she is like this height. And when she was like 45, she said, I'm not going to stay here. I want to travel Taiwan, and I want to find the best land to make tea. She went and learned how to drive, because none of her brothers, nobody want to go with her. And they all happy to be in a little village, and everybody making tea there, because they have too many business anyway. Why bother to go and make tea that way? So, but she was like, no, I want to make best tea. So she went and tried to learn how to drive. She fell 3 times. And I was like, oh, she's still not giving up. So finally she went, and then she went to different mountains in Taiwan. And each place, if she sees the tea garden she likes, she'll be like, I want to make tea here. Is that okay? And then they would let her use the labor, and she would direct people how to do it. So through years of doing that, we nailed down to 2 places in Taiwan, which is Yushan and Alishan. And that's one of the best oolong tea that you can find in Taiwan. And this is my dad, that's our little shop. This is my sister and me, in the little corner, that's me. So it looks really interesting, but it was not fun. When we were little, when we're tea making time, our school would automatically know that we're not coming to school for 1 week or 2 until we finish the harvest. And the reason being is a family-owned business, very hard to find labor. When you're doing tea making, every second counts, because when you do oxidation, you cannot wait for 1 second because then the tea might die. So it's highly labor intensive, and you probably only get to drink for 3 hours a day, and it goes on for 2 weeks. So I have 2 other brothers and sisters, so 4 of us. When we were little, my mom and my dad was like, the only way that you're not making tea is you study good. You do good in school, then you don't have to do this. So my 2 brothers all become PhD in their field. And I went all the way to New York to become architect. So leaving my sister here, she's still making tea. So labor part that I remember the most was not because we really don't like tea, it's really because as a struggling family, if you don't love what you like, you quickly become resentful for what you do. But thank God my mom and my sister, they love making tea. They found accomplishment when you drink that tea, and that gives people happiness, so that keeps them doing tea all these years. And then we created our brand, Jen Tea 2010. So most of our clients now is in America, a bigger part of America. And this is the sister's daughter, Xiaoyu. So she grew up in the tea garden like this. And so does my kids. What we do normally is you go to tea garden to play, and you pick up teas, and then you make tea. My daughter, now is 11 years old, she always said that that's what she wanted to do for her whole life. So I was like, okay, let me take you to tea garden and really make tea, and then you decide if you want to do it or not. But she really liked it, so we started to teach them how to make simple tea. But through the process, I don't know if everybody heard about 50,000 hours and you become master. Not in tea. I learned since I was little. My sister's still learning. My mom's 85 now. We still have to ask her every time because the temperature is different, moisture is different, altitude is different. So it's really hard to have a formula to make one set of tea that is all the time is consistent. So it's ongoing learning process, and that's what makes it so fun. So, talking about Taiwan culture and Taiwan tea, we cannot not talk about oolong tea. Because oolong tea to us is one of the tea that has really captured the best of the tea world. And oolong tea has never been changed since the day that we grew. But the process changed. So in any tea, if you want to make a good tea, actually it's only 3 things. And each thing that makes it, you cannot make good tea without any of that. First, you have to have a really good location where your tea garden grows. So I don't know if you know that the best place for tea garden to grow is the line of Tropic of Cancer. So that's about 23.4 latitude around the globe. But during this place in the world, mostly a dry climate, desert. But in Taiwan, it's very special because Taiwan has tall mountains. So we have about 269 mountains, that's more than 10,000 feet tall. Because of that, you have really good terrain, and you capture the moisture in the mountain. And the best thing for tea growing is when you hot during the day and cold at night, so you got dew coming to the tea leaves. Then it makes it really good for growing. And that's what happened, especially in Alisan region. The Tropic of Cancer line just past Alisan. And so you have the north of the garden and south of the garden. And I always found that nature really amazing. If you don't use any additive, one year I did a tea tasting and I wanted to show people why it's so important, the location. This is the same garden, we harvest the same time, but one garden is on the north side of Tropic of Cancer and one is on the south side. And when the tea that finished production, you taste the tea so different. On the north side, it tastes like a forest, like a wood. And on the south side, it's more like floral, more tropical. So that's why the location really matters. And then you need really good timing, because you don't want tea that grows too much. When it grows too much, then it's too old. You also don't want it to be too young, so it has to be just perfect. And then lastly, you need a tea master. And tea master that can read the tea. I sometimes joke around, say my mom's tea whisper, just like dog whisper. Because you whisper to her, I don't hear. 2 years ago, I went to Alisan with her to make tea because we always do the tea making in May. And I haven't been up in the mountain with her for so long, so I was like, okay, I'll go with you this time. And then she would show me around. Everybody knows her in the Alisan region. Alisan region is the most famous tea, high mountain tea in Taiwan. So we went to one of the tea family, and she goes, National Tea Master, Guo Bao Cha Shi is here. So she's calling everybody to come, and she's like, hey, 20 years ago when I first met your mom, she looked at our tea, and that was a sunny day, and she's looking at the tea, she said, Ilan is raining. Ilan, which is our hometown, is about 6 hours from Alisan region. So the lady was like, how do you know if I'm looking at the tea and you know that your hometown Ilan is raining? And she doesn't believe, so she called her friend Ilan. And they're like, yeah, it's raining, it's pouring. So I was like, interesting. So after we left, I asked my mom, I was like, how do you know? I mean, do you really know or you just guessed it? And my mom said, no, when you look at the tea, they all talk to each other. I was like, okay, thank you for teaching me. I need another 50 years to learn that. But that's why the tea master matters, because you really need to read the tea leaves and you really need to do the tea plants and know that how they grow. So I wanted to show you just a little bit of, this is probably the tallest tea mountain in Taiwan. It's called Yaili. And they have a single rail. It's really, really scary when you get on that. It's like one single rail with that little truck, and they go up and down. And if you don't want to take that, you have to walk for like 3 hours. By the time you walk there, you can do any tea harvesting. But that's why it's so hard to do any of the tea making in the whole mountain region. This is the Jade Mountain. Jade Mountain is we call it Yusan. It's our first national park in Taiwan. So this tea has such a beautiful energy. It's most of my Qigong master in America love this tea. I don't know how they know it. They drink it, they're like, oh. Because in Jade Mountain, there's no farming allowed. And this tea garden is probably the closest one. It's only a few hundred meters below the national park. And this is the surrounding. You can see it's all original woods next to the tea garden. So this is the tea. It's oolong tea here on the top. And when we harvest, we only harvest 3 leaves on the top. 1 bud and 2 leaves. And that's how we make oolong tea, all by hand pick. So we talked about before that, Song Dynasty and were Korean and Japanese tea making, and they learned how to do the green tea. So when you do green tea, you only harvest tea, and then you started to do the production. You don't have all this middle part. And this is why the oolong tea is so special, because they figure out how to do oxidation. And oxidation level, if you control it right, you get rid of all the best thing from tea leaves. And you keep that very little 5% of the water content in the final product, and that's all the best of the tea. So if you could control the oxidation level, right, your tea, it will be guaranteed excellent. And the oxidation, meaning that when you pick the tea, and you just put it in the sun, and then we figured out how to make that oxidation level to be perfect. Then we will curl the tea. So the reason I wanted to show you this is like, when you're drinking that cup of oolong tea, we are making this for 3 days, non-stop, and not sleeping. So we have a lot of clients from America come here to learn how to make tea. Usually teach them how to make black tea. Because like I said, green tea that you don't need to do oxidation at all. Black tea, you do 100% oxidation. So you don't have to be so careful about oolong. So it's easier for us to teach them. Like my kid, when they were 4 years old, on their birthday, I teach them how to make black tea. And you just keep rolling, oxidate, and you can go to sleep. That's what another beautiful thing about making black tea is that it's not so hard on your body. So, and this is why we wanted to do oolong. And last year, we were very lucky to be invited by our National Palace Museum to create a tea series along with their exhibition. So today we're gonna serve this tea with the National Palace Museum. Can I just mention for the spring, because I thought this is probably something most present in Taiwan, because you know how Taiwanese people, most of them are coming from China. Back in the days, maybe like 12th century, 13th century, my family's 18th century. And slowly we become who we are. But this tea called Forever Spring is also like that. Somehow, wild place in Taipei, this tea just come out. And it's mixed with Wu Yi tea and Qinxin Da Pang, this is 2 tea. And they just naturally, it's not from Tea Institute. So our Taiwan Tea Institute is really, really good. It's more than 100 years. They cultivate many different cultivars. And now, like if people drink tea, they probably heard about milk tea. That's also from Taiwan Tea Institute. But this one with Forever Spring, it's not like that. It just came out wild, and it kept coming out like every day, spring day. So we called it Forever Spring because the production was so amazing. But besides that, it's the flavor and it's the fragrance that makes this tea so special. So for our National Palace Museum tea set, we recommended using this one. Song Dynasty, they are doing that, and they are doing tea latte. Like they would put the drawing after they form the tea, and that drawing is unique for everybody, and then they will serve to people, and then they call it tea fight, because they compare which tea is best tea. People often think that only the Japanese culture would do tea ceremony like that, but actually I found it very fun to just take the old Song Dynasty thing back and do what we do here. And we started from grinding the tea really, really fine with a stone mill. And after you do that, then you put that in the teacups. And then you could do the drawing as you wish. So today's subject is about Taiwanese tea culture. And one thing I didn't mention is when you go to Taiwan, you go to anybody's house, they all have tea set. And they would sit you down and tell you, I got this award-winning tea, and they will share with you. So at first, my husband is American. He usually used to people coming over in beer or wine. I said, oh, tea, okay. But that's very common here. So this is my mom, and we have, this actually happened to be Jojo Tea from Miami. They did fantastic tea room, and he's doing something so innovative and trying to get young people to drink tea. And one program that he was doing in Miami was so interesting is he said that instead of going out every day to drink the bar, why can't people like in Taiwan where you drink tea? So he had once a month, he would have a tea party at his tea showroom. You can pay $20 and you get a teapot, and he would spin the music all night long. So it started from 8 o'clock all the way to 4 o'clock in the morning. And he does it every single month. I was like, thank you for bringing Taiwanese culture to your nightlife. That was very special. If you ever come to Taiwan, that's what we would treat you. It's our best tea from our house. And you just come in and chat with us and sit pure. Thank you.